Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Spit Takes. My name is Jens Anderson, a.k.a. Spittle, and I'll be your host. This episode, we're going to talk about a TV show called Wayward Pines. Now, this is a fantastic show. If you haven't seen it yet, I want to tell you a little bit about it in general terms so that you can get an idea of what it's all about before I let you know that the whole show after that is going to be full of spoilers. And if you do want to see it and without any kind of spoilers in mind, you should get out of here. But let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a fantastic show. It really takes place in this town in the middle of the woods where you learn very quickly that people are sort of abducted and kept there. You don't necessarily know why right away. Everyone seems to be playing along for some strange reason and very afraid of some folks that are in control. So you get this kind of dystopian feel, but it's very contemporary and on kind of like old kind of hometown USA kind of feel to it. It's a tremendous show, has a great cast. Let's show you that really quick. And let you know what they're all about. So it stars Matt Dillon right here. He's the main character, and his wife and his son also come on board as well. It starts off with him kind of getting in a car accident, and he wakes up in a hospital, and this nurse, this really crazy, what appears to be this psychotic nurse, is very weird and trying to control him and stuff like that. The cop here, who's the sheriff, isn't really helpful to him, and he is, really trying to figure out what is going on. He befriends Juliette Lewis's character right here and finds his old partner, who is seemingly married to this guy right here. His wife searches for him, ends up getting abducted, and this guy, played by Toby Jones, who is named Dr. Filcher, he is like the man sort of that seems to be behind some of this. So it's a fantastic show, has a very dystopian kind of feel to it, and had elements that reminded me of Hugh Howey's Silo series, and also kind of a little bit in a weird way that BioShocky Fallout kind of feel to it as well, in terms of some of the images and the way things are presented at Wayward Pines. It's based off of a book series by Blake Crouch, and I guess there are 3 books in the series, and it was taken to television by M. Night Shyamalan. And this is M. Night Shyamalan's first kind of venture into television, and he had a lot of people that were working with him on this, and I gotta tell you, it was a huge success. There is a twist, but it's not an M. Night Shyamalan twist, and you get it early on, maybe like episode 4 or something like that, where they throw back the curtain and say, here's what's really going on. And from there, you're deep into the actual setting and the story, and you're along for the ride at that point. So it's no big kind of weird reveal like, what? Kind of M. Night Shyamalan kind of thing. So also what you should know is that the initial intention was that this was a limited series, much like TNT's The Dig. It's just going for a single season, right? And it definitely ends in a way where you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Not a twist, but definitely an ending you didn't necessarily expect if the series was going to continue. Now, M. Night Shyamalan has actually spoken to, let me actually get rid of the cast thing here. M. Night Shyamalan has actually spoken to folks about this, specifically Wayward Pines finale, M. Night Shyamalan Talks Season 2. What you got for me there? Shamalama Ding Dong Salad being delivered to me. Thank you very much. I'll partake in that in a moment. So apparently Season 2 is maybe something they're thinking about because the success of Season 1 was so huge, but they didn't really expect it. And what I really liked about this was, sort of, allow me to zoom in here for you so you can kind of see and read along. There are some spoilers in here really quick. I do want to tell you that, but so even don't read along here. But let's get down to his thing here. M. Night Shyamalan, when asked about, are you excited about a sequel, he says, we're super surprised, excited, humbled by the reaction to Wayward Pines. And I did ask Blake to come over to my house, which he did. We sat down for a few days and we talked about all kinds of things, and we both felt very good about our time together. We both made a pact saying that if we did decide to do something more here, that we would approach it with a very high level of integrity and not let the opportunity dictate it. We're both happy to walk away. So I think that's awesome. It really shows that they are interested in delivering on the fans who want to see more out of Wayward Pines, but also saying, hey, we did our thing, kind of like Battlestar Galactica, saying this is our last season at the height of their popularity, because they didn't want to milk the story. And I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with going to see a movie and then that's the end of the experience. Only this is being done over, many more hours. I think there's 10 episodes or 13 episodes or something, might be 10, and then the series ends. And that's fantastic. It's way longer than a movie. It's like watching a trilogy of films, actually, only you get to do it on television. So what's wrong with that? I don't think they need to push it if they don't want to. All right, so that being said, I highly recommend this, and if you don't want to hear anything about my thoughts about the season and the show, then you better get out of here now, because I'm about to talk about it. 3, 2, 1. Get out! All right, here we go. Let's talk about Wayward Pines. Let me pop the cast thing back up there again, and here we go. Okay, so as I said, Matt Dillon plays an FBI agent. Here's his former partner, right up here, who he had an affair with, and his wife knows about it, and so does his son. He goes off looking for her because she is missing, finds her in this town after he has a car accident, and the sheriff is right here. His wife is working with this guy, who is an FBI agent, and kind of tips her off. Dr. Filcher here is the dude who's in charge of Wayward Pines. Now, and when Matt Dillon wakes up, he meets this woman, as I said, who is creepy nurse. All right, now let's explain all this that's going on. One thing that happens early on in the series that's very cool is that they give you this sense that everything is happening in real time. And that's actually not the case. There are, at the same time, for the first 3 or 4 episodes, a story that's being told in our time right now, 2015. And the other side of the story is being told in the year, get this, 4028. Okay? Like, over 2,000 years later, they're telling the story that's going on in Wayward Pines, while there's this other story going on in our timeline right now, and the two look like they sync up. Okay, so what looks like is happening is Matt Dillon's character wakes up in this town, Wayward Pines, and he's actually waking up 2,000 years in the future, and he doesn't even know it, okay? His wife is now looking for him because he disappeared, and this FBI agent is kind of stringing her along. Every time Matt Dillon makes a phone call and tries to reach his wife, the lines are busy, the lines are dead, the sheriff won't help him with what's going on, and you don't really understand why. So his wife is desperately searching for him, and what she finds out is that there was she finds out a little bit about that he's in this town called Wayward Pines. So she goes out there, and the sheriff, meanwhile, is running this town with an iron hand. In fact, Matt Dillon knows there's something going on. He doesn't know what, but nobody will talk about it. It says, shh. Everybody says this thing all the time. Shh, they're listening, they're watching, they're listening, they're watching. You're like, who? You get the feeling that it's this guy, Toby Jones, who is playing Dr. Filcher, but he's under an alias as this sort of psychiatrist in the town. And it's this idyllic town, and everybody's acting so happy, yet they totally act like they're pretending like they don't want to be there. And he does befriend Juliette Lewis, and Matthew Dillon's character gets her to kind of tell him what's going on. Turns out they have microchips in them, right? And they're going to, cut the microchips out, and they're going to try and make a run, and get the hell out of there. But what you realize is, or they show you later, is that there's actually this fence around Wayward Pines, okay? The entire place is this town in this woods surrounded by mountains and this fence. There's no way out of the town. You cannot get out of the town, which is really kind of interesting. And so the creepy nurse is always trying to, get Matt Dillon to, calm down and play along, and so is the sheriff. And it turns out that when he and Juliette Lewis try and escape, his partner and her husband actually kind of blow the whistle on them for some reason. And it's because they have their own plans to escape and they don't want their plans thwarted or risked. And so they blow the whistle, and it ends up turning out that Juliette Lewis gets caught, okay? And they have what's called a reckoning. And you learn that she gets her throat cut in front of the entire town. It's quite horrifying. And you learn that if anybody disobeys the rule and does this main rule, we don't talk about the past. You're not allowed to talk about the past. And so if you do talk about the past, or you do try and escape, or you do something like that, there's a reckoning. And it's an execution, a public execution. So fear is what's keeping everybody in line. And you realize really quickly that this idyllic town is not what it seems at all. All right, now, meanwhile, Matt Dillon's wife is looking for him with their son, okay? And they think that maybe even he ran off with this agent who they think he's having an affair with, maybe still. And so she goes looking for him. And the funny thing is, this guy calls, Toby Jones, and Toby Jones sends this guy out to go get her. And so he arranges a car accident, just like what Matt Dillon had, okay? And while she's heading to Wayward Pines, he arranges this car accident. So they give you this impression that these events are happening at the same time. What you realize later is that this guy has Dr. Filcher has this theory, okay, that human beings have had a significant change in their DNA. And that we are about to go extinct as human beings. We're going to evolve into something else. In fact, we're going to devolve. And in a way, this reminded me a lot of Land of the Lost and the Sleestaks, where the brown Sleestak thought that, he had come back from the future into the past, and the green Sleestaks with no minds in them were his primitive ancestors. Well, what it turns out, the horrifying reveal, is that Enoch is actually from the past, and that his people are going to devolve into this simple-minded, primitive race of Sleestaks. And that's what kind of happens with humanity here. And Dr. Filcher knows it. Okay, so he is constantly what you realize quickly is that human beings have evolved into these abbeys. They're called aberrations. Okay, and they're really horrifying creatures with really claws. They're faster. They have stronger senses than we normally do. Matt Dillon tries to escape. He climbs up the wall. He goes out there. He gets attacked by these things. In fact, he goes out and he looks for let me just show you this really quick. He looks for he actually finds, let me see here. So here's pictures of Wayward Pines. It's really pretty and idyllic and everything like that. You can see it right here. Here it is. This is Wayward Pines. A very beautiful place. He escapes, right? He gets out of here. He comes under attack really quickly by these abbeys, all right? And meanwhile, the children are being brainwashed, okay? And they are sort of the next generation. And you learn that the reason they don't talk about the past is because when they have talked about the past, they tried this once before. They revive people. Oh God, let me back up. So what they do is they abduct you and they put you in a cryo tube and they freeze you. So anybody that Filcher kind of wanted to live in this town, he actually ends up kill the search tools here. He ends up abducting and freezing. So all these people have been frozen and they're waking up in the future. And his wife was frozen, and so was his kid, so that he would be actually a better part. And there's all these kids called the first generation, which are supposed to inherit Wayward Pines from the adults. They will run things one day. But Filcher is a crazy man, and he realizes what's going to happen. So he starts putting together this town called Wayward Pines and starting to abduct people that he needs and freezing them for future use. And then he did one experiment where he awakened everyone and he told everyone what was really going on, and they tore the town apart. And so he doesn't want to risk that again. So he's actually having Terrence Howard's character, constantly trying to do these reckonings and keep people in line through fear. And you can see here they're waking up out of their cryo tubes. There's Toby Jones. And the nurse actually ends up being his sister. And all these people are true believers in his cause. But he just sort of goes off the rails after a while. And you learn that his sister is actually a good person. Even though she seems like a real whack job in the beginning, she's actually a really good person. And she ends up, being instrumental in sort of what happens at the end of the series. So what does happen in the end of the series? I've kind of gone. I was looking for an actual picture of the post kind of apocalyptic world here. But Matt Dillon realizes he goes out there and his mind is blown because he sees the city of, I think, St. Louis, and realizes that the world he knows is gone. And he ends up having to kill Terrence Howard's character, the sheriff, and they end up he ends up being the new sheriff. And so he's trying to keep people in line. And this character, his old partner, actually blows up the fence and ends up like trying to get out, doesn't understand what's happening. And there are these rebellions going on, and the Abbeys start pouring in and Filcher is like, screw this, I'm shutting everything down. We're going to start over. We're going to reset. He shuts down the fence. Abbeys are coming over the fence. They kill everybody in the town practically, but they start escaping toward the mountain complex. There's actually a complex up in the mountain where Filcher and the True Believers are. They're monitoring everything. And he goes wacko, but his sister ends up shooting him and, trying to help save the people. So in the end, Matt Dillon actually sacrifices himself to make sure the Abbeys can't pursue everybody into the mountains so his son is safe, and blows himself up in an elevator, which comes crashing down and killing a bunch of the Abbeys. So everybody can kind of freeze themselves or wake up later. Once the Abbeys leave during their winter migration, they can get the fence back up and they can get Wayward Pines going again. It ends in a very creepy way. The first generation of kids sort of take over. Some of them go mental and nuts and try and kill all the adults, and that guy's kind of the new sheriff, so he's doing reckonings. It ends with this creepy image of somebody having been reckoned that's hanging from a lamppost on public display. And the kid gets knocked out for like 3 years and wakes up. He gets hit by a brick and he's in a coma for 3 years. He finally wakes up and the whole town is back to what it was before. They sort of started over, waking new people up with the first generation of kids knowing what was going on and nobody talking about the past again. So it's this total like, holy crap, this really grim ending that happens, and Matt Dillon's character is dead. Toby Jones's character is apparently dead. Terrence Howard is dead. The nurse was in charge, and so was this FBI agent. This guy gets his head blown off by one of the first generation kids. But you think when it ends that the nurse and the FBI agent are going to work together and make Wayward Pines a great place where they tell people the truth and they're going to make a better society. But when the son wakes up years later, there's a statue of Filcher in the town square. All of the first generation kids are these creepy, they're running the place. People have been reckoned again, and you don't see. I can't move my hands in the proper way. There we go. You see, these two are nowhere to be seen. So what would happen in season 2? I don't actually know. I'd be interested to see it though. I would absolutely watch it. I really enjoyed Wayward Pines, and I hope you did too. Leave me your thoughts about it and what you kind of digged about the show or dug about the show, and any kind of things that surprise you, maybe plot twists and things like that. Or if you just want to talk about it in general, do you think it could warrant a season 2, or should they just end it right there? I'd be happy either way. If season 2 is no good, I'll stop watching. But if it is, hey, we got a bonus season. I think they could do it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Wayward Pines. If you enjoyed the show, again, let me see some of your comments below. And talk to you guys soon on the next Spit Takes. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.